It'll tell us. All right, we are live. All right, everybody, I wanted to say hello, welcome to my channel. I am so excited to have Mrs. Anna, or do you say Anna or Anna?
Anna.
Mrs. Anna, because she's Anastasia. Did I say it right?
Anastasia.
Yes. And so in her classroom, she's Miss Anna, and she's going to talk to us today about her Outschool journey. And I'm excited for her to share that with you. I think it's great to be able to hear different perspectives of how teachers are teaching on Outschool, how they got to Outschool, and just get to know one another from our Outschool teacher village. Before I forget to share with you too, she is our Share It Saturday. So she remembers to show up every Saturday so that the teachers in the Outschool Teacher Village can share their classes with one another. And hopefully some of the teachers are grabbing some of those classes or sharing them with others. My name is Paige Howell, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. So Miss Anna, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm an Outschool teacher, but when I don't do Outschool all the time, so I do live outside of my little virtual classroom. When I'm not working on Outschool or not at the hospital or not doing my ministry work, I just love to watch sci-fi. I'm such a nerd, but I'm not as smart as my husband. He knows like all about space and time and all this stuff, and I like to pretend that I do. I love to read, and I love music, and I love to sing. During the pandemic, I actually tried painting a little bit. So yeah, YouTube has awesome painting tutorials, like those little, like how we used to do the like sip and
paint by number.
Yeah. So I love like watching those little videos and then painting little things. So that's been fun. We're actually currently remodeling our house right now, so I'm learning how to do stuff like that. I did this chalkboard wall. So
yes, I love her background now, how simple and easy. That's awesome.
And it's magnetic, so I can put stuff up there if I have different classes and change without having to worry about putting nails in the wall and stuff.
Do you buy it, just as go off topic, do you buy it magnetic? Does it come magnetic, the paint that you buy?
Oh, I should have kept the can, but it's a magnetic primer that you have, and it takes gives you 4 coats. Literally like read the instructions on the can. It tells you exactly what to do. And so you put that on the wall, and then it has to like cure for 3 days.
Okay.
Before you can paint the chalkboard paint. So then that is also at Home Depot in another can. And then you put the chalkboard paint on there, and you wait another 3 days before you can write on it. And then you're done.
Yeah. And then you're done. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so you were telling us a little bit, I interrupted you. You're telling us a little bit about yourself. So you learned, my husband actually wants to try and learn how to paint. And I laugh at him because I tell him he's having a midlife crisis. He's been watching YouTube videos too. He goes, I think I could just teach myself. I'm like, okay, we'll try it. You can see if you can learn that. And Anastasia is actually originally from Alabama area, but she is now in Atlanta. So she's a little Georgia girl. And they are her husband is doing more of like a remodeling type business. So they have relocated there. And I learned something new about her this morning too. She shared a little bit. So she does mammography. So I told her to do a little plug for all you women out there.
Mammograms.
Make sure you're getting your mammograms. That's right. And so Anastasia, how did you come about Outschool?
Yeah, so that's always kind of the question, is people ask me all the time, like, how are you teaching when you do mammograms? So you have to kind of rewind a little bit to get the whole kind of big picture. So as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I focus a lot of my attention on Bible education work and really helping people to see how the Bible is practical for them in their lives right now. And I really want to do this internationally. Since this is all on a voluntary basis, I really needed something that was going to support that. So that's how I got into mammo and doing x-ray and going to school for that. And then I was thinking, okay, I'm doing this here in the States. What am I going to do internationally? And so that's when I started hearing about the teaching online thing. And so I sat down, talked to one of my friends. I have a cousin that teaches English online, and did like a little bit of research and sat down, got my TEFL because you have to have that to teach English online. And long story short, I didn't get the job. Called Powfish. I tried, didn't get it. My husband actually did, and he did great. And so I was telling my friend all of this. I was so bummed, like, oh, I really wanted to teach English online. And she told me about Outschool. She's a brick and mortar teacher, and someone else told her about Outschool. So she shared the link with me. And that's when I decided to really change my game with the whole research and all that. And that's actually kind of one of my first little tidbits of advice is do your research. I spent a long time in YouTube videos. I watched other people who were applying what they were doing. I read blogs about Outschool, and I looked really heavily into the company too. Like I went to their about section. They have a great story on there about their stats and why they decided to do what they're doing. Like how their motto is inspiring kids to love learning. It's just like little things like that that really made a big difference because then I felt so much more prepared. I took a month to do all that research before I started applying. And then I went to Facebook and I joined the New and Future Outschool Teacher group. So not on that group, get in that group because there's so many people on there who are willing to give you advice and willing to help you and, not rude about it, but basically as a matter of fact, like, nope, do it this way. If you do it this way, I promise you it's going to work. And it does. It works. And that's where I met Brooke Allen, who brought me over to the Outschool Teacher Village. Awesome Facebook group. Get into that group too. Again, everyone's super helpful in that group. Everyone is super nice, willing to give their advice, willing to look at your application, even if they're not your referring teacher. So that really helped too. And get a referring teacher. That really helped. Thank you, Paige. Referring teacher. And just having Paige to look at my application, look at my video, and really give kind of that non-biased look, like it's not just my husband looking at my application, that really, really helped. So that's kind of what brought me into Outschool, I guess, is just really doing that research. So I felt more confident that this was a company that I wanted to go with.
And I love that you did the research. I did too. I'm a real research person. And what really drew me to Outschool, there were a couple things the same as you. I could teach when I wanted, what I wanted, basically, and kind of charge what I wanted. But when I read about the person that started it and his passion of allowing kids to take classes that were outside of the mainstream classroom to build children's interest, it really made me think of my own youngest son and how this could have shaped his education if he could have had classes of interest to him, because the basic classes at school are not interesting to him. And I just think that could have opened up some different opportunities for him to explore. So I loved that part of the Outschool. Now, I wanted you to share too, getting on with Outschool was not easy. So I wanted you to share that as well.
Yeah, so it took me 4 tries.
And look at this lovely lady. Wouldn't you hire her?
4 tries. And so if you're not familiar with the application process, you have to do a written application and you have to do a video. They actually changed that process during the time that I was doing the research. And or part of it, the video used to be, I think, 30 seconds to a minute. And it turned into 3 to 5 minutes. You have to do a legitimate demo class. Teaching fake children. There's nobody there. So I thought that I just had it in the bag, that first application, and they don't tell you why. They just say, sorry, try again. So yeah, it took me 4 tries. And I don't know if this was what got it in the 4th time, but one thing that I really did that 4th application is ran my written application through a grammar check. I did I used 4 different ones. I'll have to get the link.
Yeah, that would be great to share those 4.
Yeah, there's multiple ones. If you just Google grammar check, there's multiple ones. Some you have to pay for. to get like the more in-depth kind of grammar, I didn't pay for any of them. I just used 4 different ones. And each time some showed a little bit different than others, and I kind of pieced that all together. And I learned that they're real sticklers on grammar, your periods, your commas, punctuation, all those. I mean, I was missing like a comma here or there, you know, that I didn't even think was that big of a deal, but I guess that was a big deal because I put those commas and the periods and switched up a verb or noun and whatever here and there. I got in. So don't get discouraged if it takes you multiple tries to get in. I think there's just so many teachers, and we're not the
And
only.
when you were applying, there was even more teachers coming on board, I think, at that point too, when I remember the time period you were kind of coming on board. How long have you been with Outschool now?
So I taught my first class in September.
Okay, so in September, so good. So you're doing, and what would you say, because this isn't, she was sharing earlier, if you're just joining us, this is not her full-time income, that she has lots of different jobs. This is her part-time income. How many classes a week do you typically teach?
So I actually have my stats pulled up. So I teach currently, so I do the ongoing classes now. So it's kind of hard to tell, you know, like I have sections in progress, 4 available classes right now.
Okay, all right. And so with that, and you just teach, you told me, I think 2 days a week with Outschool currently. Okay, good. And so what I really liked about this, and one of the reasons I wanted to share some of these interviews with active Outschool teachers, is we all have different models of how we do our Outschool classes. You know, she's doing 2 days a week. I typically do just random throughout the week. I know some people just do morning, some people do it completely full time, but I wanted people to see there are different options that are available. And what would you say is your favorite thing about Outschool?
I get to teach what I want to teach.
You get to teach what you want to teach.
Yeah, that is my favorite thing. I will say in the beginning, it's a little daunting if you've never built a lesson plan before. Thankfully, I have a brick and mortar teacher who's a friend of mine who's like, listen, you don't have to recreate the wheel, you know, to make a lesson plan. It's really not that hard. And it really isn't. And that's one of the things that drew me to Outschool is that I have multiple passions too. So I love animals. I always wanted to be a zoologist when I was a
kid. Me too.
And then when I found out the type of schooling and you don't really get your career started until you're like in your 40s and 50s or whatever, I was like, that's not for me.
Yeah. That's not going to pay your bills.
No, but now it does. You know, now I get to channel that energy that I have and the knowledge that I have about animals into my classes. And then also I felt like when I was first starting X-ray school, I would tell myself, how come we weren't taught this stuff in high school? Like, how come we weren't taught certain things about anatomy and about career choices like this in high school? And so that's one of my goals. I sort of beta tested it in the fall, teaching an X-ray class. I think that it might be something more popular in the summer when schoolers are starting to try to kind of think what they're going to do. But that's just something that you can do with Outschool. If you want to teach kids about the career that you're in, you can do it on Outschool.
Yes.
That's what I love.
And I think that's an awesome way to share, like I was talking about with my son, to share different actual occupational things that are out there. And would you be a good fit, you know, and the good, the bad, the ugly, you know, kind of telling what's really great about it. But I love that you shared too that you do not, so I actually come from the education realm. I was a teacher. You do not come from the education realm. You were not a classroom teacher, but you said it's not that hard to write your curriculum and to get your class, you know, going. And I think that does hold back a lot of teachers from Outschool, is the fact that they're like, well, I don't know how to write my curriculum. I don't know how to teach, you know, they think they know how to teach it, but not how to really get it into the lesson plan format. And there are YouTube videos out there that do walk you through that a little bit, that'll help you. I currently don't have one of those, but there is something that will help you do that. Do you stick to one main topic that you're teaching at Outschool?
Currently, I am.
Mhm.
Found a little sweet spot.
Mhm.
I've learned just the timing um,
Mhm.
and the subject matter of animals and the age group really
Mhm.
no more than 7, 8 years old. So from
Okay.
3
Yes.
to 7. That's been a really good spot for me. So right now, I'm just teaching about animals. I was trying to do kind of a space thing.
Mhm.
I think that might be more of a summary topic,
Mhm.
or maybe like do camps or something like that. So yeah, so right now I'm just teaching about the animals.
Mhm.
One little thing I was going to mention too about the lesson plans, I have something I'll share it in the village.
Okay.
I was learning my TEFL actually. They had this little chart, this flow chart, super easy on how to build a lesson plan if you've never built one before.
Oh, okay.
Used when I first was making my lessons. I now have 14 lessons for my 3 to 5 year old animal classes, and I have about 6 lessons for my 6 to 7 year olds. And it took me maybe a month to get all that up. And that's taking an hour here this week, an hour here that week. I mean,
Mhm.
now I can just do it in no time.
And that's something that I do love about Outschool as well is, it took me a while. And I'm going to say this real quick before I forget to. I teach on animals too. So when you think that Outschool might have too much of one subject, don't shy away from it because you're different. And what you bring to the table is a little bit different. Your knowledge is going to be a little bit different. So, if you're a teacher of teaching watercolor and you see, oh, there's so many don't shy away from it. I also wanted to share what she said as well. You do a lot of tweaking. I mean, I've done a lot of tweaking to my classes. I'm seeing what works more, same as she is, what age groups are better suited. When I started teaching my class, I thought the age group would be a little bit different. I've now tweaked it to a different age level. So I know Kelly, I think she's on here, but Kelly once when in one of our little workshops she said, in the beginning, it's sort of like throwing spaghetti at the wall. You have to figure out what's going to stick, and they don't all stick.
No.
And I had said this before too. One of the classes I thought I was going to really love teaching. Once I started doing it, I really didn't like it. I'm like, I don't like this. And so that one's not on my portfolio of classes anymore. That's on there. And so
And
then
about mention about figuring out what works and
mhm.
having the guts to realize that you may love this class, because I'm a little heartbroken right now because I
Yep.
love my story time and space class,
Mhm.
but it's just not working. I just would have one learner here, one learner there. And I knew that time slot could be replaced with an animals class with a full class. So you do have to kind of weigh the balance of, if you're totally okay teaching that one learner for 10 weeks and you're only going to make like $5 or whatever,
Yeah.
then do it, But if you feel like, you also hear that you do want to pay a bill or there, you're going to have to let it go.
Mhm.
And so I think that's what sometimes teachers will kind of get a little upset, that they feel like, oh, I'm not making any money or whatever. Change it up. Just, just, just set that one to the side, come back to it later, and do something that is going to work.
And you may not totally do away with it. You've got that now. Just put on your back burner. Like she said, maybe try it this summer and see, will that work out will that class work out for you? I actually just did a little video on teaching one student. And I do firmly believe that we should teach one student, but not if it's your only student for 10 weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
that becomes a little bit more difficult because it becomes more of a monetary thing. And
Mhm.
I had to do that at the beginning of the year. I did the same thing. I kind of did, coming from an educational and business background. I sat down and I really analyzed what classes are doing really well, which classes are not doing so well, and if I replace them with this, how would this work? So Rebecca said, great advice to try and change things up. Yes, you do have to change them up. And at the end of the day, we love what we do, but we go to work because we want to be paid for what we're doing as well.
Mhm.
So you have to sometimes take, like Anastasia said, you have to take the personal part out of it and make it more about a business decision to some extent. when you're doing that. What other tips and advice might you have for some new, and let me share this, and I'm telling people all the time, so I have ADD, so I'm thinking about I have to tell you. It's Anna's husband also does do some work, so she comes from a place where there are husband and wife. No, it's not his full-time income either. But what got him into that realm as well?
Yeah, Teacher Jordan.
Teacher Jordan.
Yeah. So, same thing, you know, when we were both sitting talking about what kind of work we're going to do if we move internationally, you know, what we're going to do for work. And so he was very successful with PalFish. You know, he was getting learners. He's a real low key teacher, and you know from teaching online and that you're going to find the kids that like you, right?
Yes.
So there were kids like that low key teaching English online thing, but that waking up early in the morning.
Yes.
And then you've got to hold that energy for like 2-3 hours. That gets old.
Yes.
So he's really into space and stuff like that. And he has a cool program called Kerbal Space Program. And kind of how those teachers are using like Minecraft and some of those other games to teach. He was using that to teach about rocketry and orbits and all these different things. So that was kind of cool, like having him teach and me teach. I was thinking like real, maybe one day we could be like an organization, you know?
Yes.
And have like a little like team duo teaching things. So right now he's kind of taking a hiatus right now just so we can focus on the remodeling. But that's another cool thing with Outschool. You don't get penalized for not teaching classes.
Yes.
You start and stop whenever you want to. All you got to do is just not schedule.
Yes.
And you stay active. So that was a huge bonus for him sort of basically leaving PalFish because with English Online, you know, you get penalized for that. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's another cool thing with Outschool. I would say for new teachers coming from the background as not ever really being a brick and mortar teacher and not used to the interaction with parents. I think that you know, people come to Outschool because they think, oh, well, I don't have to give feedback. And you don't. There's no rules about that. You don't have to, but I'm telling you, it goes a long way.
Yes.
Giving feedback. Every new student I have, I just send a little note. I actually use some of your given, and I just like tweak it into like Miss Anna words, you know. But just acknowledging, welcome to my class. I'm so excited to see you here. We're going to talk about tigers today. Do you like tigers? Do you have a favorite animal? Whatever. Like singling out, and then after class saying, you know, Zoe did a great job today. I loved how she did such and such, and acknowledging that she did something. You know, some of your students, if they're older, the parent may not be in the room. So letting the parent know what you noticed about your kid is really important. For me, most of the time, my 3 to 5-year-olds, the parent's right there. So I almost feel like they're expecting it. Like they sit there, they watch the class, and they know their little boy that raised their hand and said this answer. So tell them, I really appreciated so-and-so answering. That's going to keep your parents. And I've had parents stay with me the full 14 weeks all the way through. And I really think part of that is that open communication with the parents really helps.
I think it's a huge portion. And actually, from the educator standpoint and tutoring, for me, sometimes it is hard not having communication with the parent and even more in depth. You know, to be able to share more. I mean, it's kind of a back and forth. But I try and put myself in that parent's shoes and say, you know, I'm paying X amount of dollars for my student to be in this class. And unless I go back and really watch the video, how did it go? You know, if the student says, oh, I did great, I learned this, but I said this before too, you know, we all love to hear good things about our children because our children are the best out there, you know, so there's none better. So it is nice to get that little note that says, and I try and focus sometimes on like behaviors. I loved how they raised their hand, how they were respectful for the other students. in trying to share things like that. Or it was so cute when they shared with me today that so and so lost their tooth, you know, because all the little ones want to share when they have their no tooth in there. So those things. So I think that is an excellent advice for teachers. It means going a little bit of the extra mile, taking a little bit of extra time. Do you have a way that you keep track of your kids?
So that's actually something that I've been kind of teetering with. When I was teaching my one-time classes, I had
Mm-hmm.
a book. And I
Yes.
just wrote down kids' name, a little bit about them. You know, I asked questions like, what's your favorite foods? You know, because we talk about the animals' favorite foods, you know, and stuff like that. So I would write little things like that, because then I would have like another one-time class that if they were to enroll in again,
Mm-hmm.
now I can have anywhere from like 60 to 40 to 60 kids a week.
Yes.
And it's a revolving door without
Mm-hmm.
ongoing classes. So sometimes I could literally have one week, have 30 kids this week, and 30, it's a totally different group of kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of sort of, I made some spreadsheets on Google Sheets, and I didn't really like that system. I think what helps is, again, that open communication, because then you can go back in your conversations and search a kid or search a parent.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do that and kind of fiddle through like some of the comments I've made. And it
Yes.
helps me to get an idea. Oh yeah, they did say that they had a dog named whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really like to use that little search bar in the conversations, either under adults or learners. And I like to go back and look at my conversations, and I think that's a good tool.
And I'm glad you said that, because I am writing that down, because I don't think I realized you could search.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing that a lot, because I tend to answer most of my parent communication in my Gmail,
Mm-hmm.
which does not unmark it in your conversations on the Outschool platform.
Yeah,
So I'm always trying to go back and look for and kind of, you know, separate that out. Um, I was going to do a little video, and I may do it because people do it different ways, but I do use a notebook, and I teach mostly ongoing now too. And so if I get a new student, I only really add the new student. And so I know, well, I add all the students, but I put a little in by my new students. And I know Kelly said she's been trying to do more of this too. So my new students, I will send an email to, and then I pick one, or depending on how large my class is, I pick one or two students that are my regulars, and I send them an email. So I can look through my notebook pretty quickly for that class, and I can say, oh, I haven't, you know, spoken with Noah's mom in a couple weeks. Let me just send her a quick little note. So those are just some of the kind of things that I do, but I've kind of wondered how other people, Kelly did say Feedback Panda is a program that you can use.
Send me that, and I need to look at that, Kelly, because that looks like a really good tool that you can use.
And I know a lot of people use that with VIP Kid. I did not use that with VIP Kid, but I know a lot of people did. So, and it does, if it's similar to what I did use, then it's good. It stores a lot of that information. I'm a writer. I shouldn't say I'm not a writer. I don't write stories, but I still am a paper pencil kind of agenda, those kind of things. So I like to write down the student information. And Rebecca said birthdays. Yes, I've tried to remember, because Rebecca does ongoing classes as well. So I've tried to remember that. And actually, if they tell me, I put it in my little paper planner. And so I put what class. Most of the ones that I write down their birthday are ones that have been in my class for a while. So it's not like just a brand new person, and I will remember, try and remember that too. So Gail says I use with VIP Kid, but did not know it was good for Outschool. Okay, yeah, Kelly, we may need to talk about that. Share with Feedback Panda. I know there's a cost involved with it, but it could be very helpful to keep organized.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that for sure.
All right, any questions with you guys that are here? Thank you for coming. And if you have any questions for Miss Anna, then we will let you ask a couple questions. You have to manually put in the students. Okay, so you manually put them in, and then they I think it populates somewhat afterwards. She says it's pretty expensive. Gail does. Okay. So we can talk about it and see, because I know people are looking for ways to organize. And what I have found, and I don't know if you found this too, as you get more students, you do tend to have a little more administrative work because you do have more parents emailing you. You do have more parents wanting transfers. You do have different things. So I feel like it does become a little bit more administrative
It,
as you grow.
I will say about that, because I think that also kind of shies some people away from Outschool, because maybe in some other companies they kind of handle more of that administrative work. I look at it as you want yourself to be a successful teacher.
Yes.
If you really want your business to be successful, you just allot yourself some time. I only spend 30 minutes. Like, I only spend 30 minutes on my administrative work. After my day of teaching is done, I look back and I have a spreadsheet of where I keep up with all my ongoing classes, and I put in how much they make, and after 30%, how much I make with that. If I need to talk to any parents about kids' behavior or anything like that, 30 minutes.
Yes.
And then whatever is after that, if it may be an email later down around dinner or whatever, it's fine. But if you just kind of make it where it's not overwhelming for you. And then if you have a little bit extra time, then do it. But if you don't, then say, I give myself 30 minutes and then I'm done. And I think that takes the stress off of it.
Because you do have to put that portion into what you're making. So when I design my classes, I try and think that way. This class is not going to require just an hour. It's probably going to require me an hour and 15 minutes. So what, would that be? And doing it. But I like how you do the start and stop. Yeah. I have started putting all of any emails that come from Outschool into one folder. And so I typically do like you do, and I spend like 30 minutes and I'll go through that folder and make sure I've answered all those questions that have come through. And then I will usually check it one more time in the evening just to make sure if there's anything that I have to, make sure. Some of those things don't have to be responded to right away, and some of them do. So kind of organizing with that. And Gail did say, I did do one. I used the paper planner, and I show how I used it. I think it's really easy. And Gail said she got it.
And I do both. I have a paper planner and I do electronic. My husband is all electronic. And just so you know too, Teacher Jordan was very successful and did not do hardly as much administrative work as I did. He's super low key, and that works too. It just depends on I'm dealing with 3 to 5 year olds.
Yes.
So it's going to be more parental stuff going on. He's teaching an older group of kids that any questions or anything or any concerns can kind of be answered in class.
Yes.
Right after class. So it just depends on what you're teaching and age group and when you're teaching, stuff like that.
Well, and I talked about in the marketing seminar that I did is also using it as a marketing tool. I noticed that she likes this, you might be interested in this class for her as well. So adding some of the marketing component as a follow-up to help you build your classes as you go through. So it's really what you decide that your time is worth. And like you said, I've had some students, the parents have never responded to any of my emails that I've sent them. I've sent them, but they have not responded to them. But I'm like, okay, well, that's fine too. I know who's easier. Rebecca did say she made a new email just for Outschool, and it keeps it uncluttered. That's probably a good idea as well. All right, any questions? Well, I see a lot of people responded, so they learned some things from you today. So that was awesome. All right, if there are not any questions, I'm going to give her back the rest of her day, but I certainly appreciate you being here. And I will get from you after this too, because I'd love to link the template that you were talking about, the curriculum template below. Sure. And there was something else. If there was anything we talked about that you need a link to or need to know about, I'll make sure I get that below too. So you can have that for learning a little bit more about what we talked about today. So, okay, guys.
Having me. I really enjoyed it.
No, it was so nice. And thank you for doing Share It Saturday every week for us and allowing the teachers to really share. I know on Outschool Teacher Village, sometimes we have to say, oh, you can't do this until Saturday to teachers. And I try to explain that to them. We have like 1,200 members now. And if we all shared our classes every day, that's all it would be. And we still want it to be a spot for people to come and learn ask their questions, feel good about asking their questions and getting that answered. And we kind of get lost in the shuffle there. But this is a good way for us to support one another. And if you are a teacher and a parent, check out Share It Saturday and support some of our Outschool Teacher Village teachers and sign your kids up for their classes. So that would be great. Well, have a great day, and I will see you in the village.
Bye, everybody.
All right, bye. Bye, guys. Thanks for coming.